and welcome once again to another edition of our Government at Work program, a program brought to you by the CCM-led Nevis Island Administration and hosted by yours truly, Keith Scarborough. It's another wonderful Thursday evening here on the island of Nevis, and it's our first program after what can only be described as a very successful and historic Culturama 50 celebrations. To all of you who came home for this momentous occasion, I sincerely hope that you had a wonderful time here in the land of your birth with your family and friends. It was truly wonderful to see so many of my old friends, especially those whom I had not seen for so many years. As you are aware, on this program, we look forward each week to bringing you the information as it pertains to the development of the island and people of Nevis, not only for those residing here, but for those of you living in the diaspora as well. Because no matter where you are, I know that your heart and soul is still very much focused on what happens in your beautiful island, whether it be through the Ministry of Health, Education, Culture, Tourism, Infrastructure, or Agriculture, just to name a few. I'm sure that most of you would agree that there are positive signs of growth taking place in all areas of the Nevis economy, and each week we focus on at least one of those areas to ensure, of course, that you're all kept abreast of the developments taking place here on your lovely little island. This program is broadcast live on VON Radio every Thursday evening from 8 to 9:30 p.m. Then we broadcast on Nevis Television on Sunday evenings from 8:30 p.m. If you're unable to listen to our live broadcast at any time, this program can be seen on YouTube shortly thereafter. I take this opportunity to remind you as well that our Bird's Eye View program is aired on Nevis Television every Tuesday evening at 7:15 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. Then we broadcast on Wednesday evening at the same time. We shall take a short break, and when I return, I shall introduce my guests for this evening's program to you. So stay logged on to the powerhouse of the Eastern Caribbean, VON Radio 860 AM.
Is right, St. James's, put together and build your land. Right, St. George's and St. Paul's, together with St. John's. This land is enough for all to share. No reason to leave and go nowhere. Foreigners can come here from America and England. There is something mighty sweet about my land. And if the foreigners who live here can insist that it's here they're from, then I swear I'll never leave my native land. One people, one country.
Welcome back. Folks, I am pleased to have as my guest this evening the Deputy Premier of Nevis and Minister with Responsibility for Culture, the Honorable Evelyn. Honorable, I know that it's only been 2 days since the curtains came down in the Culturama 50th anniversary celebration, and your body, no doubt, still crying out for some much-needed rest. So I want to thank you up front for accepting my invitation for you to come on this program so soon thereafter. But I wanted to beat the iron while it's hot, so to speak, and reflect on this historic and momentous occasion. I know that you would have done an address to the nation last evening, and again today it would have been replayed, but on this program, we have much more to talk about, So I am happy that you would have taken time out of your busy schedule to be with us this evening. And like I said, we have quite a bit to discuss because, of course, Culturama 50 was loaded with action. But I want to start, Honorable, by asking you basically to talk a little bit about the fact that we had another crime-free, in spite of all these thousands of people we had. The Culturama 50, and the Premier alluded to it last night on his program, was crime-free. What to God give the glory.
Amen. I am delighted that we had a crime and incident and accident-free festival. I have to tell you that generally I was very pleased with Culturama, but what warmed my heart the most is when we got a report from the police that it was practically accident, incident and crime free. Because to be totally honest with you, all season long during our pre-activities, from ever since we had the official opening until the end of Culturama, I was uneasy. To be totally honest with you, I was uneasy, I was nervous, because I did not want anything to go wrong. I didn't want anything to mar the festivities. Everyone was having such a good time, bearing in mind that we had so many persons here from overseas, so many persons attending all of the activities, so many people on the streets. Things could have gone wrong.
Of course.
Even when I was in Charleston on Parade Day, on last lap, I mean, I have never ever seen so many people in Charlestown. It was crazy. You could hardly find walking space in Charlestown. And even on that evening, on the last lap, I remember I was down in front of the old customs building area. I stood there for a while, I limed in a bit, and then I decided to walk up into Charlestown to get up to my vehicle. And I could not get up into Charlestown. I mean, the crowd was so thick. And you know, these are the times when people normally take the opportunity to do bad things.
Yes.
And to get away, to slip through the crowd. You know, and so even on that evening, the last evening, I was very nervous. So I am very happy. I remember one evening when I was giving comments for the Vaughan Radio panel. I was speaking to Lauren and Melissa, and I was telling them when we had the break that that's the one thing I'm scared about. So that's the one thing I'm nervous about. And so I'm happy that an appeal went out. Even when I did my address for the official opening, I appealed to persons to be on their best behavior. So I'm happy that persons heeded the call and persons were on their best behavior. We had a lot of activities. The activities were well attended, and I am happy because, you know, when you have so many persons out and anything happens, people are kind of scared to come back out.
Yeah, that's true.
And we did not want that to happen. People were here to have fun. We wanted it to be fun and to be accident and incident free. I want to commend the police. I want to commend the Royal St. Christopher and Nevis Police Force for all of what they did to ensure that the festival was actually accident and incident and crime free. I know they would have even brought out some public service announcements as well. We want to thank them for that, and we want to thank them for once again partnering with the committee, partnering with the Nevis Island Administration to ensure that it was that way. We are very, very pleased that it turned out that way. I want to commend the health services as well. They were there on hand just in case anything happened, and thank God they didn't have much work to do.
True.
And so I want to commend all who have played a part in ensuring that we had an accident, incident, and crime-free Culturama. It makes us very, very, very happy for that.
I agree totally. Before we go into our discussions, Honorable, there's one other area I wanted you to elaborate on a little bit. I know you don't have any figures at all, but it was to do with the economic impact. I mean, I know you don't have any figures, but what sort of economic impact you think this festival, with all these thousands of people, had in this lovely little island of ours?
Mr. Scarborough, I don't have any figures.
I know you don't have,
but I can tell you without a shadow of a doubt that millions of dollars were turned around in the economy of Nevis during this Culturama festival. Of course, we know we had a homecoming, and so lots of persons were here. Practically all of the hotel rooms were booked out, the guest houses were booked out, the villas and so on booked out, and so a lot of money was spent on accommodation. A lot of money was spent on car rental. There are some persons who came to Nevis in excess of a week. Some came for 2 weeks or more. Yep. And some of them had rental for the entire time they were here.
That's true.
And so a lot of money was spent on rental. And of course, once you have rental, you must buy gas.
Of course.
And so a lot of money would have been spent at the gas stations. You know, of course, once you're here, you must buy food.
Of course.
And so a lot of money would have been spent at the restaurants and the bars, because of course it was a celebration time. And when you drive down to places like Penny's Beach, the bars were always full. And so those bars would have made a lot of money. The restaurants would have done exceptionally well. People who were here, the bakeries would have done very well, because you know our Nevision public likes bread.
Yes.
And we love pastry. And so the bakeries would have done well. The supermarkets would have done well, because people have to do their shopping. People have to do their grocery shopping. Nevelec would have done well
Of
because the electricity consumption would have gone up.
Of course.
The water department would have done well. The water consumption would have gone up.
Don't forget the boats.
I was getting to that.
Okay.
When you're talking about the transportation between St. Kitts and Nevis.
Yeah, it was excellent.
Only last evening I was talking to somebody who works for one of the ferry operators, one of the water taxis, and you know what he said to me? You all need to have another culturama next week. Because I know our company did very well.
Very well.
Very well. And all of the ferry operators, those who operate from Charlestown, those who operate from Uwali, would have done very, very well.
Of course.
And of course, they run with fuel again. So the fuel that they had to purchase, when persons had to, and of course the economic impact was not limited to Nevis.
No.
Because in St. Kitts, when the thousands of persons landed at the RLB International Airport, they had to take a taxi either from RLB to the pier in Bastair or to Reggae Beach.
Yeah. Or to the sea bridge.
Or to the sea bridge. And so the money was circulating all around in every aspect. Of course, people would have had to attend the shows, they would have had to purchase their tickets, and so the Culturama Committee would have made some money as well. Don't talk about the vendors.
Oh, yes.
Don't talk about the vendors, because I believe all of the vendors are still smiling, going all the way to the bank.
Of course.
We had record attendance at our shows, and so our vendors at the village, our vendors at the complex, our vendors for the food fair,
Yeah.
would have done exceptionally well. And so I am confident, and I can say boldly that millions of dollars would have circulated in our economy on the island of Nevis for the Culturama Festival. So the economic impact is huge.
Yep.
The economic impact is massive. And not only that, because I spoke to someone today who lives overseas, he lives in the US, and he told me, listen, I have started my house, so now that I came, I took the opportunity to go to the hardware stores to buy some stuff. I spoke to someone on my way here this evening, and he said to me as well, he's starting his house as well, and so the hardware stores would have done good as well, because a lot of our returning nationals would have probably either done some refurbishment to their homes, or maybe some addition, or maybe those who doesn't have a home may have been doing something to start a home. Some of them who don't have land may have purchased land.
Exactly.
And so, there was money circulating in every area of the economy.
Of course.
And so Culturama would have injected millions into the economy of Nevis.
That is why I
And a lot of people would have benefited.
Of course. That's why I asked of the economic impact, because I saw all that was happening. And I said this is a real injection into the economy.
Certainly. Most certainly.
Yes. Well, Honorable, we have a lot to discuss. So let's get straight into our discussion. And I want to start with the upgrades to the complex and the Culturama village, because I don't want us to lose sight of what transpired there. Those two facilities came in for much praise from all who would have seen it, especially our brothers and sisters living in the diaspora. Talk to us a little about the journey of getting both those facilities ready in time for the festival, and the reaction that you would have gotten from the patrons who would have visited both sites.
Well, it was certainly a journey, as you call it, and I must include the Nevis Performing Arts Center as well.
Yes.
Because we did a lot of work there as well, and we spent quite a lot of money there. Of course, we would have had our discussions in cabinet early o'clock since last year, as a matter of fact, in terms of what we can do. This, of course, being the historic 50th anniversary. 50 only comes once,
yes,
and so we needed to have a good showing for 50. And some people will argue and say, "Oh, you did all of this for persons coming home." No, we did for everybody.
Of course,
this was done for persons living here and for persons visiting. Because of course, once the persons who are not living here go back, it's here for all of us who live here. And so the upgrades were done for all of us, Nevisians and residents and visitors alike.
Of course.
And so we would have had the discussions in cabinet early o'clock, and we decided, listen, we need to do some upgrades. We decided what needed to be be done. And then we got to work. We would have had the discussion at the cabinet level. Then I would have had the discussion with the PS and the chairman of Culturama, the executive director of the secretariat, Mr. Antonio Liebert. And we would have had some in-depth discussion. I remember most of these discussions were actually held in my office. And we decided, well, listen, we have to move, and we have to move fast. After we would have had those in-depth discussions, we decided what we needed to do. We also brought in public works. We also brought in planning, because we wanted to show them the vision of what we wanted to do, and we want everybody to be on the same page. We wanted everyone to be on board. We didn't want any undue delays, and so we laid out our plans. These are what we want to do. These are the upgrades that we want to do. We have limited time, but we are going to work with the time that we have, and we are confident that we can get it done. And so after we had the vision and decided what we wanted to do, we engaged Public Works, one of the architects from Public Works, a young man who recently finished his studies, Mr. N.I.A. Stedroy Pemberton. And I have to say, he worked very, very well with us. He worked overtime to produce the drawings and so on, what we needed. Of course, those had to go to planning. Those had to be passed at the planning level. And then, of course, we had to engage after we decided what we're going to do at both the cultural complex and the village. And then, of course, at NIPAC, we decided, well, listen, we need to engage some contractors. And so we would have engaged some contractors. What we did, we called the contractors together in a meeting at the old administration building in Charlestown, and we laid out our plans and said, listen, these are our plans. This is the time limit that we have to work with. You know, we are limited by time, but we called them together and we said, listen, contractors, this is what we have to do, and we must get it done in time for Culturama. They gave us their word that they will work with us, even if they have to work overtime, even if they have to work every weekend, which most of them did. And after we got the plans approved and we had the meeting with our contractors, we set out to work. We set out to work simultaneously at the village and at the complex, because we had limited time to work with. Of course, you know, sometimes people always say, oh, you wait till the last minute to do things, but of course you have to do things step by step. You know, and we couldn't go ahead in terms of getting our plans drawn, in terms of getting the plans passed by planning. And so we went ahead and we engaged the contractors. They gave us their word, and then we laid out the plans. We also engaged from Public Works as well a project manager in Mr. Alistair Thompson. We laid out what we wanted done, and he also worked exceptionally well with us. And after we got all the contractors together, we got the plans approved. We set to work right away. And we laid out to our contractors what they needed to do. Each one had their task. Each one needed to bring in their workforce. And so that is how we set about doing it. And I have to tell you that the contractors worked very well. As I said, many of them worked every weekend, Saturday and Sunday, and some of them worked overtime as well, but we needed to get the job done. And thank God we got it done on time. And so we would have done the upgrades at the cultural village, where we would have done some work on the stage area to increase the size of the stage. Our performers would have complained in the past that the stage is too small, and so we would have done a lot of work. They would have erected a new dress room. We would have put some 5 corporate boxes on top of the booths that are there. Then we would have created new bathroom facility down there as well, created a new area for the medical team, and done a facelift of the entire village in terms of painting. Up in the cultural complex, we would have done an entire facelift of the booths. We had some challenges there health-wise, and so we had to fix those. And so we would have raised the flooring of I think all of the booths there. We would have done a lot of work. We would have put on some concrete roof there. We would have put in some new sinks, new plumbing fittings, new electrical work was done there, and of course it was a lot to be done in a short space of time.
Yeah.
Down at NIPAC, we had to install brand new AC units. We were running against time because we had to order the units had to be ordered from the US. We had to do some work on the roof. We know the roof was leaking for quite some time. We had to engage paving to do some work on the roof there. We had to put in a new septic system there as well. So it was quite a lot of work, and all of this work was being done simultaneously.
True.
But they were very well coordinated.
That's true.
And it's because of the fact that they were so very well coordinated why we were able to finish on time. And so I'm very proud. I want to say big thank you to the contractors, and coming back to the economic impact. $2 million was spent in fixing up these facilities.
Jobs were created.
All of the contractors got their money's worth. We had, I think, was a lot of vendors. I can't recall the number of vendors, but a lot of vendors were utilized, and so we had millions of dollars being spent there as well. And so the economic impact from this festival was really huge. And I must say, kudos to all who were part of ensuring that we had the village and the complex and NIPAC ready on time for Culturama 50.
True. Round of applause for that. Excellent job. Now, the naming of the Culturama complex, the NIDAX Cultural Complex, was visionary and very well received by all. Tell us a little about that decision.
Yes, well, that is a decision that was discussed at the cabinet level. This was our 50th anniversary, and NIDAX, is the group, the Nevis Dramatic and Cultural Society, that would have started the festival some 50 years ago in 1974, and we decided it would be a goodwill gesture for this being the 50th anniversary if we could rename the Nevis Cultural Complex after NIDAX. And so we would have been in touch with some of the founding members of NIDAX, some who are still on island, some who are overseas, and we pitched the idea to them. They actually would have pitched the idea to us as well, and so we embraced the idea. To have it renamed the NIDAX Cultural Complex, and we were very happy to do that. I think the founding members of NIDAX and other members of NIDAX were very, very pleased. As you rightly said, it was a decision that was very well received, not only by NIDAX, but I believe by the general public, because I think the general public is well aware that wasn't it for the creativity and the foresight of NIDAX, we would not have been here celebrating the 50th anniversary of Culturama. And so we were happy to be able to do this for NIDAX and of course for the people of Nevis as well.
I thought he was very visionary, because one would have thought that he would have been named after some individual somewhere, who had something to do with it. But the fact that the N.I.A. came up with the name NIDAX, I thought was very, very creative, very thoughtful, very deserving, and very well appreciated by those, or everybody.
Thank you
now,
very much.
Is it just the cultural complex, or it includes the village
just
as well?
The cultural complex.
Just
so
the
it's
cultural complex.
It's the NIDAX Cultural Complex. The other part is all just called the cultural village, as usual. Yeah.
At least for now.
Yes.
Okay. Now, this anniversary had a lot of preparatory work leading up to the festival and during the festival itself. I am sure that you would want to thank members of the Culturama Committee for the sacrifices they would have made to ensure that the festival was a success. And I want to give you this opportunity, and I'm sure you did it already, to express your thanks to them once more.
Of course, Mr. Scarborough, and of course we know that the Culturama Committee over the years is a committee that is voluntary. It is not paid. Persons are not paid for the hard work. And I'm sure you have been involved in organizing events in the past, and you would know that it is a strenuous task. It is an arduous task to organize anything. Just to organize one event, but to organize a festival of this magnitude, which is practically a national festival for Nevis.
Of course it is.
And to organize a festival of this magnitude takes a lot. And so we normally have a Culturama committee in place, and so the Culturama committee, of course, was tasked with doing most of the groundwork for organizing the events for Culturama. And I must say that I give credit and kudos and compliment and commendation and congratulations to the Culturama Committee for doing a marvelous and extraordinary, an excellent job for Culturama 50. Of course, there's always room for improvement, but most of what we are hearing in terms of feedback is positive, and I must give kudos and credit to the Culturama Committee for being there, for taking the blows sometimes when you don't deserve the blows, but for sticking it out and ensuring that you plan the festival with everyone in mind. We had a festival this year like no other. We had a festival this year that had activities that we've never had before. We had a festival that I would say, without a doubt, that is the most activities we've ever had for a Culturama festival.
True.
And of course, we had a lot of fringe activities as well.
Yes.
Sorry. Seems like we both having the same history here tonight.
The after effect of Culturama.
Yes. And so the Culturama Committee would have worked overtime. They would have met regularly. And I know normally sometimes when they meet for hours. They normally meet like from 5 to 5:15 in the afternoon, and normally go down sometime till like 8, 9 o'clock in the evening. And as I said, this is a committee that is not paid. These are persons that have country above self. They have the interests of Nevis at heart. They have the interests of Culturama at heart, and therefore they decided, well, listen, we are going to give service to our country. We are going to give service to Culturama, and I must give credit and kudos to you for all of the hard work, for the overtime work, and putting together a festival that everyone can remember, a memorable festival that would go down in the history books as I believe, and I believe a lot of people believe, would be the biggest and best Culturama ever hosted on the island of Nevis, the Caribbean's greatest summer line. So, members of the Culturama Committee, take a bow. Take a bow.
Take a bow is right. Now, Honorable, a clarion call went out almost immediately after Culturama 49 was finished for our brothers and sisters in the diaspora to come home for the Culturama 50th anniversary. The response to that call was overwhelming. Share your experience with our listeners and viewers as it relates to the positive response that you would have gotten from our returning nationals.
Thank you very much for that question. And you're totally correct. The clarion call went out very early. I'm sure you would recall since last year, ever since the launch, ever since the closing of Culturama 49, and even before that, every opportunity that I got,
I know,
including in Parliament, every time I spoke in Parliament, I asked people to come home. I was practically begging people to book their tickets early, to book the accommodation. It's almost like a recitation I had. Book your tickets, book your accommodation, book your vacation early, book your car rental, because we want persons to come home. I made the clarion call, the Premier made the clarion call, other members of Cabinet made the clarion call, committee members made the clarion call, and I must say that persons, Nevisians living in the diaspora, they responded and they answered the call. They responded in overwhelming numbers. Ever since last year, persons in the diaspora were telling me, well, I have already booked my ticket. I am coming home for Culturama 50 and homecoming, because of course, it was billed as a homecoming as well. And so I was pleased. I was overwhelmed with the number of persons, the number of returning nationals that came home to witness the Culturama 50 and homecoming celebrations. We had persons from all parts of the globe. We had persons from the US and the British Virgin Islands who flocked Nevis. We had persons from England. We had persons from Canada. And don't talk about the United States of America. I mean, the persons came home. I believe probably about 90% of Nevisians living in the US came home.
Quite a few.
There were so many. I know that additional flights had to be put on by American, additional flights from Miami, because there's normally one flight per day. And I know coming up towards Culturama, the American put on 2 flights per day from Miami. Of course, JetBlue from New York. I think it comes like 3 days per week. And it was coming full many times.
Yep.
I spoke to one person some time back, and he said, he came in on a flight to St. Kitts, and only 3 persons on the flight were for St. Kitts. Everybody else was for Nevis.
Yes.
You know,
yes.
and you saw that steady stream of persons coming in practically every day for the past couple of weeks. When you go down to the pier in Charlestown, all you were seeing that the boats were coming over full. When you go over to Owan, all you were seeing that the boats were coming up full. And it shows that people responded. People were excited.
Yep.
People wanted to come home. People wanted to experience the thrill of Culturama 50 and homecoming. And so people responded and responded. They responded even better than I thought.
Exactly.
It surpassed my expectations.
True.
You know, the number of persons that I saw here, and what I'm also happy about is that many persons came home who haven't been home for a very long time.
20 years plus.
Yes, I spoke to a lady. I met this lady. She's originally from Bath Village, and she said to me, "I haven't been home for over 30 years." Over 30 years. And this lady, she brought her husband with her, and they were so excited. They every time I saw them, they said, "We are going to all of the activities. We are enjoying all of the activities." You know, because she was just so excited after 30 something years to be back in Nevis. You know, and so I have to say that myself, the Nevis Island Administration, and I believe all of Nevis, all Nevisians should be happy with the way people responded. I'm sure a lot of persons were happy to see their loved ones.
Of course.
Some who they hadn't seen in many, many years.
Of course.
And they took the opportunity to come home. And the good thing about it is, many of them who came home said, "Well, we love it so much, we are coming back next year."
Of course.
And as I said earlier on, some of them who came home took the opportunity to either to start a build a home, to do some upgrade to their home, buy a piece of land, because I have the evidence of some persons who spoke to me. And so our call did not go unnoticed. Our call was heeded, and people came home in scores, which we were very, very happy for.
One of the highlights for me, Honorable, during this year's festival was the reaction by the returning nationals to the new look Nevis, the Owali Pier facilities, the Pennis Park development phase 1 and 2, the upgrades to the Bad Stream, road improvements, the housing development, the general development of Nevis. The comments I heard brought great joy to my heart. And I'm sure a similar experience, you had a similar experience. So share your experience with our listeners and viewers.
Most definitely, because, and you know, the good thing about it is that sometimes you are conversing with the returning nationals and you don't ask them anything. They just start to talk. They just volunteer the information, you know. And so many of the returning nationals that I spoke to, I had the occasion to speak to, they were over the moon over what is happening on the island of Nevis.
Yep.
They were over the moon. You know, when we had the cocktail reception down at the MGR Park, I spoke to several of them, and they couldn't contain themselves.
True.
They couldn't contain themselves. There's one person from my constituency of Gingerland, and he said to me, "Eric, this is what people are saying, that nothing is happening in Nevis. Something is wrong. Something is wrong." I spoke to 2 other persons from my constituency living in Canada, and when they spoke to me so glowingly about what is happening in Nevis, they said to me, "Anybody who says nothing is happening in Nevis, they need to see a doctor."
Yeah,
that were their exact words.
Yes.
They said they need to see a doctor. You know, and I mean, we were so pleased with all of the excellent feedback and comments. When I one time I was down at Penny's, and one person said to me, "When I'm down here at Penny's, I don't feel like I'm in Nevis."
True.
People had glowing remarks about the Malcolm Gishard Recreational Park. They had glowing remarks about our road network. They had glowing remarks about the Uwali water taxi facility. They had glowing remarks about our housing developments. And there were so many glowing remarks about so many things on the island of Nevis. And the truth be told, these are not things that were done for Culturama.
No.
These are developments that have been on the ground for years.
Of course.
These are things that have been done over time. And I'm happy that many of our returning nationals were able to come home and see for themselves.
Yep.
See for themselves what is happening. They didn't have to take our word.
Exactly.
They were able to come home and see for themselves what is happening on the island of Nevis. You know, and so it really warmed my heart when I spoke to them. You know, I spoke to this past Sunday. I spoke to, I mean, this is not a returning national, but I was really heartened when she spoke to me. I spoke to the young lady from Guyana who won the Miss Caribbean Culture Queen Show last year. And I met her at a cocktail reception on Sunday evening. And she came to me and she said, Minister, I had a picture with you last year. I need a picture with you this year again. And I'll put them side by side. And you know what she said to me? She said, I was here last year for the Queen Show. And I'm back this year. And in 1 year, I have seen so much improvement.
Yes. I got a lot of sentiments
This is someone who came here just for a Queen Show.
Yes.
And as I said, I did not ask her. She just spoke. She said, I was here last year for the Miss Caribbean Queen Show. I am back this year. And I've seen so much improvement within 1 year.
Within 1 year.
And so this is the reaction we got from a lot of our returning nationals.
Yep.
And I want to say thanks to you, the returning nationals who came home. Thank you for all of the excellent comments. And we are happy that some of you are actually now, because you have come home and you see how good Nevis look. Some of you are now making an investment in trying to build a home. I am very happy for that. This homecoming and C50 celebration was one for the history books and one which will definitely resonate among our returning nationals forever, I believe.
Honorable, based on what transpired for this 50th anniversary, when all these people came and were so impressed with what to see, it almost make marketing of the festival next year so easy.
Precisely.
Because they themselves, you don't have to tell them anything.
Precisely.
They would have been making up their mind, I am coming back next year.
And I just spoke about marketing of the festival. A lot of them told me as well, you all did a great job in marketing the festival. That is why we are here.
Yes.
We were listening, we listened to the radio, we were on social media. You all were always talking about come home, and we are here. So they really spoke about the marketing of the festival and the marketing of Nevis as well.
That's so the 50 will take care of all the years going forward.
Yes.
All the years. Now, Honorable, we have a number of activities that took place this year. I don't know if you can get in all of them.
We will try.
Will try. We had a number of pre-activities leading up to the official opening. We also had quite a bit of fringe activities, including your two activities, the Empire Sports Extravaganza and the Homecoming Ball. Shed some light on those two activities for us. What was the response to those like?
Thank you very much. And of course, yes, those two activities are spearheaded by the Empire Sports Club that I am privileged to be the president of. And we know we have been having the aquatic sport for several years running now. And the response has always been good. I have to say that it's not only just an aquatic extravaganza. It's an event that is actually now developing our young people. Of course, we've heard a lot about Troy Nisbet going to the Olympics.
Yes.
And Troy would have swum and he would have competed at our aquatic sports.
Yes.
And when you go to the aquatic sports and you see those young people swimming and competing, and the kind of zest they have and the kind of enthusiasm they have, that aquatic sport is actually a means of helping to develop our swimmers.
True.
I mean, I know that we would have started a swimming program when I was the Minister of Sport, and it's going exceptionally well. And it's because of that swimming program.
It's also that Troy came from.
Right, right. And so this aquatic sports that we are having now, it also assists in developing the swimming ability and the swimming capability of our young people. And of course, when we started it out, it was mostly of the greasy pole, but then we started to do the swimming. And so we attract a lot of young persons every year to do the swimming and that sort of thing, and the diving. And you know, the greasy pole is still the main attraction. People just love it.
Yes.
And what we have realized over the years is that, especially last year and this year, we actually attracted persons who are visiting Nevis for the first time on the greasy pole.
Okay.
Last year, there was a gentleman, I think he came from in Australia. He was there on the waterfront. He saw it and he said he wanted to take part. and he won a ham last year.
Okay.
He came back this year by coincidence because he was married to somebody who was having a family reunion. Came back and won again this year.
Oh, really?
We had a gentleman who was visiting Nevis for the first time from Morocco, and when he came to the activity and saw the Gracie pole, he told his wife, "I want to be a part of that." And he came down and he went on the pole.
Okay.
And so it's a means of creating some excitement, something
Yes.
different. You know, people love it, and it's a means of creating that excitement there. And so that went very well as usual. Then, of course, we had the homecoming ball. Now, this was meant to be something different, Mr. Scarborough. You know, this was the 50th anniversary. Our club normally have a 35 and over dance
Yes,
every year, but we decided this being, and as a matter of fact, we are celebrating our 45th anniversary this year.
Oh, really?
So we are celebrating 45 years, and so we decided let's do something different this year. Rather than having the 35 and over dance, let's do something different. And so we applied and we got a spot during Culturama. And so we hosted that ball at the Malcolm Gishard Park. It was a dress-up red carpet event. And I have to say the persons who came, the feedback has been excellent. Persons who came, you were there, so you can give me your feedback.
Yes.
The feedback has been excellent. People were glad for the opportunity to put on their dandan. I mean, ladies went out of their way in terms of their dressing. No one could have complained about things to eat. No one could have complained about drinks. The music was quite good, and the rain hampered us quite a bit. You know, we had a bit of a storm that afternoon, and I had
to call you to see if it was still on.
And several persons called, and I said, "Well, it's an indoor event, so it's still on."
Yeah.
But even some persons who had tickets didn't bother to come because of the weather. There were a lot of lightning, a lot of thunder, a lot of rain. But those who came had a fantastic time, and it went down very, very well.
It was an excellent idea. Excellent idea, and I hope he become an annual event on the calendar, because I think it's a wonderful idea. Honorable, now I want to move on to the official activities themselves, because to go back to the pre-activities will take up the entire program. I would like to hear your take on the shows, both the quality and the attendance. And in the interest of time, we shall take them in threes.
Yes.
Right? And so we start with the opening ceremony, the Golden Jubilee Awards, and Mr. Cool and Miss Swimwear.
Okay.
So speak of those three.
All right. Well, I'm going to speak of four, because remember we had the Junior Calypso competition.
Oh,
the Junior Calypso competition was the night before the official opening.
Yes.
So that went well too. And so for the Junior Calypso competition, we had the numbers were up this year. I was a little bit disappointed with the attendance, but I had to say the quality of the show was excellent. I think it was one of the better, or maybe the best Junior Calypso show that I have attended. I found all of the Junior Calypsonians did well. I was commenting that evening, because I was doing coverage for Vaughan, that, you know, many of the times for the Junior Calypso show, you have persons going up and making mistakes, getting a little nervous, but practically all of the performances for that night by the Junior Calypsonians were flawless, you know. And so I have to give commendation. I have to give commendation to Jazzy Connor. The Greenhouse Band is the one that sponsors that event every year, and he works with the Junior Calypsonians. If they do not have a song, he gets a song for them. He trains them, and he has done a tremendous job over the years. So kudos to you, Jazik, and the Greenhouse Band for working with our Junior Calypsonians once again. And so that event went quite well. I think Calypso is in good hands when persons like you and the others move off the scene. We have a lot of young persons who are into the art form, and we have a lot of young ladies who are into the art form.
Sure.
I noticed for the junior category, the ladies are dominating heavily.
Yes.
Very heavily. And as I said, the performances were quite good, the songs were good, and it was indeed a good quality show. It started in good time, it finished in good time, so kudos to that. Now for the opening, the official opening ceremony, that too went well. Time management, it could have gone a little better, but as I said, it's a learning experience. Of course, as every year is a learning experience. Generally, I've had good feedback for that as well. It was a production style event, and we had the folklore, we had the contestants introducing themselves, you had an opening speech from myself, you had several Calypsonians and soca artists taking part, and all in all, it was an excellent production. I think all of the performers who were on stage did a great job, and it was indeed a good opening for what would have been an Excellency 50. The Golden Jubilee Awards that was hosted on the Friday, and that too went very well. That was hosted at the Malcolm Gishard Recreational Park, where a number of persons, a number of our trailblazers, a number of persons were awarded in various categories. You had past kings and queens, past Mr. Cool, swimwear, past Calypsonians, media houses, NIDACs, the persons who would have done, of course, the groundwork in terms of the festival, and some of our long-standing sponsors. We thought it fitting, this being the 50th anniversary, that we should do something like this. I want to commend the persons who were charged with organizing this activity. I think it went very well. It was not too long of an event, and so I want to commend and congratulate all who would have received awards, and I think it was very fitting, this being the 50th anniversary, that we give kudos and credit to some persons who are deserving of it. Of course, it's an event where you cannot award everyone, because there are a lot more persons who are deserving of awards, but you cannot award everyone.
Sure.
But we think that the selection that we had was a good selection, and we give kudos and credit to those persons who received the awards, and once again congratulate the committee that was responsible. Now for the Mr. Cool and the swimwear competition that was hosted on the Sunday, and that too, the production was good, the performances were very good, the quality of the show was good, but of course we all know that the show went
too long,
and of course that is no secret. The show went long, yes, so that is something we have to work on. But as I said, because this is a milestone year. Normally when you have a milestone year, you have a costume segment, and so that was introduced for the Mr. Cool and the Swimwear, as well as the Miss Culture Queen pageant. Normally, during a normal year, you do not have a costume segment, and so you had an additional segment this year, which you don't normally have in other years. And so you have to take that into consideration. Yes, barring all of that, yes, the show still went a little long, right? And so the contestants had to make 4 appearances, and you had 10 contestants.
Wow.
5 males and 5 females. And so it was 10 contestants, and they had to do 4 appearances. So I think that is one of the reasons why the show went a little over time. But even though the show went over time, I think, as I said, the quality of the show, the quality of the performances were quite good. I think people were generally pleased. The competition was tight in both the swimwear and the Mr. Cool competition, and so even though the show went long, I think people were pleased with the show itself in terms of its quality.
Gotcha. Honorable, we got to take a break here before we go into the other half. Folks, you're listening to Government at Work. My guest this evening is the Honorable Eric Evelyn, Deputy Premier and Minister of Culture. We shall take a short break, and when we return, we shall continue with more discussions on Culturama 50.
So rise, St. Thomas is rise, St. James is put together and build your land. Rise, St. George's and St. Paul's together with St. John's. This land is enough for all to share. No reason to leave and go nowhere. Foreigners can come here from America and England. Then there's something mighty sweet about my land. And if the foreigners who live here can insist that it's here they're from, then I swear I'll never leave my native land. One people, one country.
Honorable, as we continue with our reflections on Culturama 50, I want to go next to the Panorama Night, the talented youth, and did we do that already?
No.
Oh, the talented youth and the homecoming day function at Fothergills. Those 3.
Okay, good. Panorama. I must say, before I speak about the Panorama contest, I must say that I am so happy with the way pan music is going here on the island of Nevis. It's going in the right direction. my heart is full in terms of how many persons on the island are learning pan. My heart is full to see so many groups that have formed, how many steel pan groups that have formed. Now, the panorama competition was hosted on the Monday evening, Bunny Panorama competition, and we had unfortunately, we had only 3 bands that were competing. Someone said to me recently, we have the panorama in Nevis and only 3 bands, and when there's a panorama in Sink, it's like 5 bands from Nevis go down.
6 actually.
But there are reasons why we only had 3. But anyway, we had 3, and the competition was an excellent one. The quality of pan music on Nevis is rising.
Yes, it is.
I was so impressed with those 3 steel pan groups that were competing on that night. I was truly, truly impressed. The Gifted Youths, the Community Development Steel Orchestra, and the Uwali Rhythms, they were all excellent on the night.
The champion one from Gingerland, what's their name?
Community. Well, they were not the champions for this year. They won the 5-a-side last year. That's Community Development Steel Orchestra.
The one that won this year is
the Uwali Rhythms.
That's by Gavin.
No, that's by Junior.
Oh, Junior Pan.
Yes.
Oh, that's what had me confused.
Yes. And so I must say that the 3 steel bands, they did an amazing and excellent job from start to finish. And the good thing about it is, even though we only had 3 steel bands taking part in the panorama competition per se, we had several other bands on display that night.
Yes.
That were just sharing their talent.
Yes.
And so it was indeed a full night. I was blown away at the attendance. I was blown away when I got to the complex and I saw the number of persons in the complex.
The pan is going big time in
I
Nevis.
couldn't believe it.
And you know what I saw? Let me tell you what is happening, Eric. Junior and Gavin, the pan instructors, they are themselves competing.
Yes.
So they're going all out.
Yes.
But in addition to that, I saw the children performing. Like, you see how they were dressed and how they behaved, with
and
the
how
band.
they were moving.
They were moving
well
like
choreographed.
I'm telling you.
I mean, it was almost like a Trinidad panorama.
That's what
contest.
I'm telling you. That's what I saw.
I was impressed.
I'm telling you, if not this year December, by next year December, Nevis will be winning that federal pan competition. Mark my words. You hear it here first.
Yes.
I'm telling you.
And as I said, I was really, really pleased when I got to the complex and I saw the turnout there.
Yes.
It was truly remarkable.
Pan.
It was truly remarkable. And I'm so happy that so many persons came out to support the steel pan groups.
It is growing.
And even when the groups were announced on stage, the kind of support they got from the audience was really very, very good.
It is growing big time.
And so I must say that steel pan is growing well on the island of Nevis, and I must give kudos and credit to our instructors, Gavin Trini Patterson, Junior Paris, and Shavani Maynard. You all are doing a marvelous job with our young people. Marvelous job. And when I see the camaraderie of those young people in the steel bands,
I'm telling you,
it's good.
They're telling
when
you,
I see how well they're
fantastic.
They are together.
Yes.
And that is how I like to see young people
And they're
living.
enjoying it. They love what they're doing with
that
the
is
pan.
how I they are into the performance. I when I went backstage, I even told my nephew. My nephew was playing in one of the steel band, the community development. I said, "You're learning to move.
Yeah.
You surprised me. You're moving well on stage." you know. And some of the youngsters, even from the Hanley's Road area, who normally not moving on stage, I saw them moving well.
They enjoy what they were doing. I'm telling you, they were jumping and carrying on. I like what to see the behavior.
It was truly amazing.
Yeah,
it was truly
I love
amazing.
what I saw in the behavior.
It was truly amazing, and so that competition went very, very well.
Yes, it was.
And as I said, the attendance is what really surprised me.
Yes, it is growing.
I was very happy.
Trust me, the interest is growing rapidly here when it comes to pan here in Nevis.
Indeed.
Yeah.
And so we spoke about the panorama. What's the next one?
The talented youth.
The talented youth. That again, of course, we know that is normally an event that is normally very huge. That is an event that brings out all of the children, the school children, brings out all the parents,
yes.
because everybody wants to come to rep and support their school. I have to say that that show went very well time-wise. It started on time for 7 o'clock,
yes,
and it finished before midnight.
That's good.
Finished before midnight, and so it was well coordinated, well executed, and I was happy that it finished before midnight. The quality of the show again was quite good. The attendance was excellent. When I look at all of the performing talents, when I look at the evening wears, when I look at the way they were portraying the historic sites on the island, it was a learning experience. And so you go to the talented youth, and you're not only being entertained, but you're also being educated. And so that indeed was an excellent show. And again, the attendance here was quite good. Now, for the homecoming on the Wednesday, the 31st, that event was hosted at the Nevis Heritage Village at Fothergills. And that too, by all reports, because I have to admit I did not get there, because when I was ready to go there, the storm started.
Yes.
When I was ready to go to the Heritage Village, the storm started. And so I did not get to go there because that had to be premature. It had to end prematurely. However, persons who were there told me what a marvelous time they had, and I understand the crowd was quite huge, because a lot of returning nationals took the opportunity to go there to eat their hot bread and butter. I spoke to one gentleman who was visiting from Tortola. He said, "Eric, this 3 hot bread and butter I had," and somebody else said me they could not make the bread and butter fast enough for persons, and persons were just happy to get all of the local foods, all of the local delicacies, enjoy the ambience of the Heritage Village. I'm sure a lot of them probably visiting the Heritage Village for the very first time, and so persons who went there, I spoke to some persons who went, and they said what a wonderful event it was.
I was there, and it was an excellent turnout.
Yes, that's what I heard.
One of the things they need to do for next year is the parking. I mean, it was more cars than they could handle.
I could imagine.
It was more cars, but it was a very well done event. And that too has legs to go even bigger.
Of course.
Than it was this year.
Of course. And as I said, I'm sure a lot of persons were actually visiting the Heritage Village for the first time.
I'm telling you.
Especially some of our returning nationals, and so that event would have gone well. As I said, it ended prematurely because of the weather. That was really a storm. It was really a freak storm that Wednesday afternoon.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, Honorable, we move to the Soca Monarch competition, the Calypso competition, and the food fair. Your thoughts on all three?
Yes. Soca. Now, soca is another thing that is really growing on Nevis. And when I say growing, I mean growing in leaps and bounds. When I looked at the soca competition this year, when I looked at the quality of the performances on stage, and when I realized that new persons are actually coming onto the scene and making a good run of it, when I look at the turnout for Soca Monarch competition was quite good.
Yes.
I realized that these guys and ladies who are now entering the Soca Monarch competition, they are going all out in terms of, and the good thing about it is we have increased the stage area.
Yes.
Because that is one of the complaints we had in the past, because that these persons who are entering soca, they always have an entourage. They have their dancers, they have the performers who have to come on stage with them, and they want adequate space, because you know how some of those people behave when they go for Soca Monarch, and so they go all out in terms of their little production, their little presentation for the Soca Monarch competition. And every year I'm impressed in terms of the way they have their dancers come on stage, the way these dancers are, the way the dances are choreographed, with the way the dancers are dressed, and so they go all out to ensure that they impress not only the judges, they impress the audience, because of course there is part of the criteria that speaks to crowd impact.
Of course.
And so the Soca Monarch competition was, to me, of a very high standard again this year. Every year, I think the Soca Monarch competition increases in terms of its in standard.
Yes.
Improves in terms of its standard.
Let me tell before you move off the topic, let me tell you what I see happening with it. It is no longer good enough just to be singing a song for the soca competition. They are putting on a whole show.
Of course.
It's a whole show. So you may have a better song, but the kind of show that these guys are coming with, they'll blow you out the water.
Precisely.
Because it's a crowd thing. It's a show you have it. Is that the strength of it is that called reaction, you know.
And even with their dressing, these guys are now even dressing better than the Calypsonians.
I tell you, Trinidad is not leaving them anywhere anymore.
The soca artists are now even dressing better than because when soca started, it was not that.
It was just a song. They come on, they sing the song, and that's it.
And they were not dressing up so well.
No,
but these guys go all out now.
I'm telling you.
In terms, especially with their presentation.
It's a
sometimes you see trucks coming into the village,
I look at it and it's just like the pan was moved from one level to the next. This soca thing has gone a totally different level.
Definitely.
All in the presentation.
Definitely.
It's a full package you're getting.
And as I said, the soca show continues to grow. And I was very, very, very pleased. I think for that soca show as well, I think the management was quite good. I think there was not much time wasted between artists coming on.
It flowed nicely.
And it flowed very nicely.
Yes, it flowed
very, very nicely. And so I think the quality of this Soca Monarch competition was quite good, and I have to give credit and commendation to those artists. They're really going all out. All out. And so after the Soca, now you say I should speak about the Calypso, right? Now, the Calypso show, of course, that is always that is one of the big shows on Nevis. And I have to say this year, the attendance was much better than what it has been over the past couple of years.
That's true.
Of course, we know that we had a lot of persons returning home, but I had the occasion to speak to a couple of persons who were in the audience, and they said to me, this reminds me of way back.
The way it used to be.
I'm sorry, way back in terms of what the attendance used to be like for the Calypso show. You had a little couple hitches during the first round. I think the second round went down very smoothly, but there were a couple little hitches in the first round, and so the first round took a little longer than I think it should have taken. But here again, I think the songs were good. The competition was tight, bearing in mind this was the 50th anniversary and everybody wanted the vehicle, and so persons brought their A game, people sang their hearts out, and I think that too was another excellent competition. The Calypso Monarch competition, I need to give them, put their handle to them, the TDC Senior Monarch. I should have said the National Bank Soca Monarch competition and the TDC Calypso competition. I need to give them their handle. And of course, I would have didn't remember to say when I was talking about the talented youth, the Republic Bank talented youth.
Yes.
I need to give credit to the sponsors.
Sure.
Okay, and so the TDC Calypso competition, that too I think went down quite well. As I said, we could work on the time management, especially as I said for the first round, but it was a good competition, and I think the songs were quite good, and I believe the judges had a difficult time. So that too went well.
The food fair.
The food fair.
Yes.
Oh Lord have mercy. I need a week to speak about the food fair. I need a week to speak about the food fair. No, the food fair. The food fair is always one of the biggest attended events for Culturama. I think, of course, most people normally come out on parade day.
Yes.
Right? And the food fair would rank second in terms of attendance. The food fair this year, I don't think anybody can doubt it. I don't think anybody can doubt it, that it was by far the biggest food fair that Nevis and Culturama has ever seen.
Most definitely.
We had record number of vendors. We had record attendance. I mean, like, the park was the perfect place for that.
Of course.
The ambience there, this layout, the size of the park.
Did you see the parking?
Yes, the size of the park, was a total nicely fit. It was a great fit for the food fair, and people loved it.
Yes.
People loved the fair being at the park. People loved the venue. People loved the activity. People were out in their overwhelming numbers. It's the most vendors we've ever had, and no doubt it's the most people we've ever had as well.
That's
the
true.
entertainment was good, and people just had it as a nice family event. I mean, people couldn't get any place to park.
I know. That's why
I went down on the beach, and I mean, I had to park down there, and you had to fight. You had to look hard to find a parking spot.
Yep,
And of course, you know, with the improvements we have done down there, we have put in some parking.
Lots of parking.
We
And
put in
all
lots of
went.
parking, but that is not enough.
It was not enough.
That was not it. People were parked all up on the bypass road.
Yes.
I understand people were parked in the TDC parking lot.
Almost on the Four Seasons Golf Course.
Right. And then, you know, even to get from up on the main road to down to Penny's Beach, it took you so long.
Yes.
And to get from down Penny's Beach back up on the main road, it took you so long. And people were just beaming with happiness and pride at that food fair. And I believe the vendors did very,
Excellent.
very, very well.
Excellent. I was there and I couldn't believe what I was seeing.
Trust me.
Believe me. Now, Emancipation Concert, the Miss Culture Queen Pageant, and Juve Jam Session.
All right. Well, the Emancipation. Is it the Queen Show for us? Or the Emancipation?
Emancipation was
Emancipation. Emancipation Concert. Now that too, a sellout crowd.
Of course.
A sellout crowd. And you know, some people were complaining about the cost, the price, but people came out.
Of course.
Because the lineup was like a music festival lineup.
Of course. It was.
It was like a music festival lineup. It was a show that was supposed to go from 9 p.m. to 6 a.m.
I left
And
at one. I had to leave.
I left around 4. I left around 4, and a couple of the bands still had to come on.
Oh yeah, I left
And
with some bands.
you know,
to come.
it was like, as I said, it was like a music festival lineup,
Yes,
and people,
it was.
people loved the vibes.
Yes.
I love to see how the people were jamming. I love to see how the people were dancing.
Yep.
Especially when the two artists from Trinidad came on,
Yes.
Fayon Lyons
Yeah, and his
what-
wife, yeah.
and what's the name? Was it Bunji?
Bunji Garling.
Yes, those two, they really rocked the place.
Yep.
They rocked the place.
And the old Burning Flames, of course.
Oh yes, Burning Flames was a hit as well.
Yeah, of course.
Burning Flames was a hit.
Yes.
And I love the way the people responded. The crowd responded very well, because you know it's all well and good you're up there performing well, but when the crowd is just there standing up, it's not a good feeling either.
No, they gotta
and so
respond.
they were talking to the crowd, they were singing to the crowd, they were asking the crowd to respond, and the crowd was always
They
responding.
responded, yes.
And so it was a vibe night. It was a night when people just came out to have fun, and as I said, the attendance was excellent. It was a great show. All of the performers did very well, including the local performers as well as the overseas performers. It was a fantastic show. And I haven't heard any negative comments at all about that Emancipation Concert. The Miss Culture Queen Pageant, another night when you had a night of class. We had 6 young ladies, and here again you had a bumper crowd, because you know people love Queen Show.
Yes.
Nevis people love Queen Show, you know.
Yes.
And the Calypso Show crowd was big, but I believe the Queen Show crowd was even bigger. You know. And people came out in their numbers again to support, and I think all of the contestants did very well. They did justice to themselves, they did justice to their sponsors, they did justice to their chaperones. This again, I believe, was a tightly contested competition, and the quality was good. The performing talents were quite good, the evening wears were good, the swimwears were good, and I think it was an overall wonderful show, right? Juve?
You tell me about Juve, because I know you were supposed to be spearheading the long jump.
But of course, you know, there's no long jam without me. And so, yes, I was definitely in the long jam for Juve. Juve was another hit. What I loved this year is that the bands started early o'clock. The bands from Gingerland, the two bands, the Casanova and the Core, they would have started somewhere around 5, you know, and so they had a good head start. Of course, the long jam is something that persons look forward to, and so a lot of persons were there. Of course, we had a band that started at the Malcolm Gishard Park this year as well.
Really?
I think it would have been the Small Axe. I believe so. And then you had the Odyssey that would have started down in the Pennis area by the TDC parking lot area. Not sure if the Ultimate would have started at Bath. They normally do. But and I think you had a band in town as well, or you had music in town. And so all the reports coming about Juve were quite good as well. Of course, Juve normally stops at midday, but you had music in town until about 3-4 o'clock.
Okay.
And so persons had the opportunity, even after Juve, to just go into town, lime a bit, enjoy the music, you know, and here again, people just jam peacefully. No kind of fighting in the band, which I like. I mean, I hate to see that people are in the band and behaving bad and, you know, fighting each other and have weapons and so on. We didn't have anything like that this year. People were peaceful, people were just having fun, and the Juve went down very, very, very well.
Let me ask you this, because I heard the same like you, that the bands were early and by even before 8 they were going well past Prospect coming down. So why they didn't get into town? That's the question.
Well, that's an excellent question, because I personally I was a little peeved that the bands did not reach all the way in. The bands only reach as far as Reliable Motors, and the explanation is the core band was in front of the Casanova band, and normally you have some wet down sessions. There was a wet down session at Prospect, the junction to go across by the Neblek, and the wet down session took like over half an hour, which was way, way, way too long.
Yes.
And then they had another wet down session by the roundabout.
Ballymat,
Yeah, that again took way too long. There was another wet down session by Reliable Motors, and of course that is because when I gave my first report to Vaughan Radio, I said to Webbo, I believe these two bands are going to get to Charlestown by 11 o'clock.
It sounded like it.
Yes, I said to Webbo, these bands are going to get to Charlestown by 11, because the pace they were coming with, and the fact that they were in the Prospect area by after 8.
Yes.
They had covered most of the route.
Of course.
And I don't understand why couldn't the bands get into the heart of Charlestown. Well, I can tell you a lot of the revelers were upset, because a lot of the revelers wanted to get into the heart of Charlestown with their band.
That's the grand finale.
Of course, they wanted to get into the heart of Charlestown, you know. And really and truly, I think the bands should have gotten into Charlestown.
Yeah.
But I think those wet down sessions took way too long.
Let me ask you this. Wasn't there a judging point in Charlestown?
I am not sure. But I know they were judging points coming along
I know
the
they
route.
had, but
I assume there may have been a judging point in Charlestown as well. But really and truly, as I said, there is absolutely no reason why those bands should not have gotten into the heart of Charlestown. Because in 2 of my reports, I said that they should get into town by 11 o'clock. You know, but generally,
and they normally do. Even when they left late, they normally get to hang around.
You're right. They normally do.
Yeah.
They normally do. So Juve was another hit as well.
Okay. Now, finally, the Tuesday, August 6th, of course, the Troops and Bands Parade in the last lap. You were playing mass. What's your take on this year's parade?
Of course, I've played mass for the past couple of years, and as the minister, I like to be involved.
Yes. And
so this year, what I decided to do, I was playing mass. I decided to do things a little different. I didn't tell many people what I was doing. You know, a couple of people asked me if I was dancing masquerade. I said no, I'm not dancing masquerade this year. A couple of people asked me if I'm going into a troupe this year. I said no, I'm not going into a troupe this year. I'm doing my own thing. So a thought came to mind, you know, during the course of the year, and I said, you know what, I am going to portray a couple of the folklore troops, and I decided I'm going to portray 5 folklore troops. And I thought about it all the time, and you know, in my mind I said, what am I going to do in terms of the design? And I said, well, you know what, I am going to portray the cowboy and Indian. I'm going to portray the Johnny Walker. I'm going to portray the clown. I'm going to portray the masquerade, which I normally dance with. And I'm going to portray the giant despair. And so what I did, I had my thoughts in mind. And I said, you know what? I'm going to make a Johnny Walker jacket. And then I'm going to make a clown pants with the bells and so on. I'm gonna have the ribbons attached to the clown pants. So the ribbons will represent the masquerade and the giant despair. The pants represent the clown. The jacket represent the Johnny Walker. And then I had a cowboy hat to represent the cowboy. And on my jacket, I had 50 printed at the back.
Okay.
With some like celebration stuff. And then I had 50 on one of the pockets as well. I had a gold bow tie and a gold pocket square, which represent 50, right? And what I did when I came into town, I said, you know what? The David Dynasty masqueraders, they were leading the parade. And I said, you know what? I'm going to lead the parade. So I was not a part of the David Dynasty masquerade, so I was in front of them. So I actually led the parade from in the vicinity of Island Tires area, because it was so many troops. The first troop had to be down close to Island Tires or in the vicinity of Caribbean Cove. Yes, in the vicinity of Caribbean Cove. We started in the vicinity of Caribbean Cove because there was such a long line from Caribbean Cove all the way up to the roundabout.
Yes, yes.
You know, and so we started there, and I led the parade straight into Charlestown, straight to the waterfront. You know, and so I had a wonderful time. I had a ball as usual.
As usual.
You know, and I was privileged to see all of the other troops come down as well and do their performance on stage. And I must say that it was an excellent parade of troops, well coordinated as well. Even though there were a lot of troops, I think the movement was quite good this year, better than previous years. Because, you know, normally in previous years, sometimes you have a long gap.
Wide gap. Yes,
you have a lot of wide gaps. I did not see that this year. The troops flowed very well, even though there were so many troops. They performed on stage. Well, most of them complained that the 2 minutes was not enough. We probably need to fix that next year. And it was so well coordinated that it finished early.
Yes, yes, yes.
Even though we had so many troops, it finished early.
Tell me a little about the route. I noticed the parade route was changed this year. Normally you'll go along the Hunking Drive and come around and so forth.
Well, what happened is that the parade route, because there were so many, because normally, to be honest with you, sometimes even when you start at the villa, up there is normally very congested,
Yes.
The villa area. And so they decided to start up in the Value Mart area, parking at the roundabout area this year. And so as I said, because they were starting up there, you had that long stretch coming down.
Yes.
And so the troops were lined from down Caribbean Cove straight up to the roundabout.
Yes.
You know, and so the route was from there, come down, come through Charlestown, then you go on stage, perform there in the TDC parking lot, and then, if you so desire, you go around
the Hunkins Drive,
Drive
go back uptown
and come back up.
Okay.
If you desire.
Yes, yes.
Because there was the final judging point.
Yes.
There on the stage. And so many of the troops, the smaller troops, when they finished their performance on stage, that was it for them.
Okay.
I saw some of the bigger troops actually, when they finished their performance, actually did the route. Went around the Samuel Hunkins Drive and came back up and came through Charlestown.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
But I think the parade of troops went very well as well, and it was very colorful.
Yes.
And we've gotten some good feedback about the parade of troops as well.
I wanted to get your feedback on one show. We finished with the official program, but I wanted to get your feedback on the Legends show that they had. I'm sure you went to that.
Of course, I went to the
That was an
Legends
official part of the culture thing, but it was something new and created for the 50.
Yes.
Which I thought got a tremendous response from the general public and went down well.
I think it went down well too.
Right, it went down very well.
It was hosted there at the 869 bar in Gingerland Sports Bar and Grill in Gingerland, and of course it was heavily advertised here on the Eastern Caribbean Spa House. One Radio was part organizer of that Legends show, and it brought quite a lot of legendary calypsonians to the stage. And I got there a little late, you know. because we had the awards, the ceremony
night,
that
yeah,
evening,
the
and
same
then
night,
our
yes,
stringman
yes.
went down on the beach to play,
Okay.
and so I missed a couple of the Calypsonians, but what I saw, the performances were quite good. The reaction from the audience was
Yes,
quite
yes,
good.
yes.
I think they were very well received.
Yes, yes, yes.
Very, very, very well received, and that too was another high quality show.
Yes, I know it was only built for the 50th anniversary, but it is something that I would like to see, go on, and give the older boys some,
Yes.
give them a little stage
Right,
to
of
perform,
course.
and, 'cause
People in
look
unison,
forward to
people
them.
like Flamingo on stage.
Yes, and people
quite
just
good.
like to see the old boys, and
Yes,
I wish
yes.
somebody else, if not,
And I
if
think
not Von,
the attendance was quite good
it
too.
was quite good.
Yeah.
But people
And
wanted to see the old boys.
what surprised me the most? When I got there, I commented to a couple of people, I am surprised to see so many young people here.
I'm telling you,
There were a lot of young people there, and then I was saying to myself, how people say that people don't like Calypso? How people say that young people don't like
they love
Calypso?
Calypso, man.
There were so many young people there.
Yes, yes, there was quite a few young ones.
Yes.
My part didn't come off too good because I didn't have the band behind me.
Right.
So I tried to do it, a sing-along.
Right.
And some people didn't take it too well at all. And I could understand what they were saying because they were looking for the real thing from me.
Right.
But unfortunately, I didn't get a chance to do it. I would have really liked to do it, but I didn't get the chance. So I know some people were not too happy about it, but at least I attended and
Part of life.
did a little thing. Yes, yes, yes. Honorable, sure you will want to say congratulations to the winners that won the various competitions
Yes.
that we had. So why don't you do that?
I
at this
really
one?
want to congratulate the winners. I think once you decided to enter a show, you're already a winner.
Yes.
But I want to congratulate the eventual winners. I think all of the participants did very, very well. I'm going to run through the winners very, very quickly because I think they deserve to be mentioned here. And so for the Junior Calypso show, the monarch was the Mighty J. First runner-up, Mighty Zen. Second runner-up, Lady B. And third runner-up, Princess Kali. For the swimwear, the queen was Khadijah Lewis. First runner-up, Nangela Semple. Second runner-up, Shakoya Flanders. For the Mr. Cool, St. Clair Rollins. First runner-up, Eliezer Dorset. Second runner-up, Devontae Liebert. For the Panorama, the Uwali Rhythm Steel Orchestra won that competition. For the talented youth, it was the St. Thomas's Primary who copped the top position, followed by the Charlestown Primary. Second runner-up, Elizabeth Pemberton Primary. Third runner-up, Joyce Liebert Primary. For the Soca Monarch competition, for the Groovy segment, Delhi Ranks was the winner, followed by Rocco Dunn, first runner-up, and Empress, second runner-up. In the Power father and son combination, history in the making there again.
Yes.
Ras Brown and Rocco Dunn, and we had a newcomer, Big Six, who copped the first runner-up position, and T-Bone took the second runner-up position. For the Calypso competition, Astro became the monarch. Lady Destiny, I think it is the first time she probably placed. Is it the first time?
Yes.
Did very well. First runner-up, and yourself, King This and That, the second runner-up. Miss Culture, the Queen, Shaquanya Jeffers, Vanessa Simon, first runner-up, and Carly Edwards, second runner-up. And of course, I have to mention the Miss Caribbean as well. Miss Guyana placed first, won the show. First runner-up, Antigua Barbuda, second runner-up, Dominica. For the road march, Casanova came back and won with Legacy. For the Troops, Fantasy, first Four Seasons, second Anastasia Revelers, and third Royal Rampage. For the Float, Legacy of Masquerade first, Who You Bull be second, and third St. James Fun Lovers with Orlando Beauty. For the Folklore, David Dynasty Masquerade first, second On the Spot, third NYDC Masquerade, and that's some masqueraders from overseas, New York and Washington DC. And for the Old Mass, those were the days. So I want to congratulate all of the winners.
Yes.
Heartiest congratulations to you, and of course congratulations to all of the participants for doing very well.
Honorable, we're fast running out of time,
Yes.
and we still have a lot to cover. We're going to get you tonight, so we probably have to look at it another time. But let me ask you this. I was looking at the new look booths in the Culturama complex, and I observed that the roof is now flat and made out of concrete. Are there any plans to put a few corporate boxes overhead at some point in the future?
Well, there is no decision on that yet. That could possibly be done in the future. I know there was some talk about it after because we were not sure whether or not we were going to put a concrete roof on, but the decision was made, and so it is ideal now to have some corporate boxes. But I'm not going to go out on a limb tonight and say we're going to do it next year. Those things cost a lot of money.
Yes.
We would have spent a lot of money this year. Whether or not we're going to do that next year, I cannot say right now whether or not that is going to happen. But I think it's an ideal area to put some corporate boxes, but I'm not going to say here and now that we will do it next year. That is a decision that will have to be made by cabinet.
That's true. Now, the marketing for Culturama 50 got off to a very early start. The response was positive. I know that it was a very special occasion, the 50th anniversary, of course, but would we be seeing a similar effort for the marketing of Culturama 2025?
Most definitely. I think a save the date
51st
poster.
anniversary.
I think a save the date poster will be out soon, and so let me say here and now that the dates for Culturama next year would be July the 24th to August the 5th. Mark that on your calendars, especially those of you who intend to come back. July the 24th to August the 5th, and so we're going to be starting our marketing soon. And before we wrap up, I just wanted to say a big thank you to our sponsors.
Yes.
Our sponsors, our long-standing sponsors, they all came back. We had some new sponsors coming on board. I want to say special thanks to the new sponsors. We had a sponsor who came on board for the fireworks with that excellent fireworks display for the opening of Culturama, Zambelli Fireworks in collaboration with Nevis Multiline. We had some new sponsors who came out in a big enough way this year, like Delta Petroleum, Queen City Bar and Garden, which came on board at the last minute when we wanted someone to sponsor the Queen, one of the Queen contestants. Surrey Paving came on board in a big way late, and all of the banks, National Bank, Republic Bank, Bank of Nevis, all of them increased their sponsorship this year. All of the sponsors who were sponsoring Queen contestants had to increase their sponsorship this year, and so we had good response from our sponsors this year, and we wanted to come back on board in 2025.
Yes, Honorable, next year is my 50th anniversary.
You serious?
Yeah, that's
wow.
next year is
That's
my
a
50th.
huge event for you.
Of course, it will be.
So you're saying that you have been singing for 49 out of the 50 years?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
That's a tremendous feat.
Well, Honorable, I want to thank you for coming and joining me on this program this evening. I want to give you the last word for our listening and viewing audience,
Well, I just want to say thank you for having me. I just want to say thanks to all who have made it possible for us to have an accident, incident, and crime-free Culturama, and for us to have a wonderful and memorable, I rate it the best ever Culturama ever hosted on Nevis. So we want to say thanks to all who have been involved in any way. Thank you so much. We look forward to seeing everybody on board again in 2025. Remember, the dates for Culturama next year, July the 24th to August the 5th. We look forward to seeing you again in 2025.
And I know they will be coming. Folks, we have come to the end of another edition of our Government at Work program. Join us again next week when we shall do it all over again. Do enjoy the rest of the evening's programming. Then have a pleasant night's rest. Good night.
So right, St. Thomas is right, St. James is put together and build your land. Right, St. George's and St. Paul's together with St. John's. This land is enough for all to share. No reason to leave and go nowhere. Foreigners can come here from America and England. There is something mighty sweet about my land. And if the foreigners who live here can insist